Hey guys, it's Ann here. Today's video, I wanted to talk about something, I'm like slapping. I wanted to talk about something that I feel like I've been so fortunate to have in my many years working offline, online, wherever. And that is working with amazing people. I don't know what it is. Now, I have worked, I'm not going to say every single person I've worked with has had this type of work ethic. But I have been on some teams that have the we don't deliver late mentality, that will stay up all night to finish something, that work fast, that care about their work, that aren't thinking about the hours, that are thinking about the result, that take personal responsibility, that, oh my gosh, that just always go above and beyond. Like, what needs to be done is the question, not that's not my job. So I want to talk about that today, and I want to tell you how you can find those people to work with, because even though I do hear lots of stories from people who have a really tough time finding great teams, great people to work with who have that kind of, it's what I call that linchpin, and that linchpin kind of attitude, because I didn't even know what to call it until I read Seth Godin's book, Linchpin. When I read that, I don't think I've ever read a non-business book in one sitting. And that book is not thin. I was going nuts. I remember just laying on my couch. I remember I would only put it down to go eat. And I think I finished it, okay, fine, not in one day, but over the weekend. And I realized, I'm like, wow, I'm a linchpin. But then I realized a lot of other people are linchpins as well. So here's what I think you need to be on the lookout for. And if you are someone who's on other people's teams, you might want to adopt some of these qualities, because you become a hero. You become the person who can be depended on. You gain so much trust this way, and you will get better and better clients that are suited to work with you. You will find people who are, it almost feels like family and not work to work with them. So here are those qualities. So A, take ownership. For goodness sake. Now, when I say take ownership, I don't mean go in there and just be working like a crazy person. I mean, do what I did when I went to work. Actually, everywhere, not everywhere I've taken this, but after this one position with Laura Roeder, LKR Social Media, I don't know what switch flipped on in my head, but within a week of working for her, I was her boss. It was my company, in my head, and that's how I was able to stay devoted, dedicated, and honestly, what keeps me motivated and dedicated even though I'm not working with her anymore. So literally, I will always make sure I'm promoting her business and her launches in my social media feed. I'm still thinking about Laura because I feel so much ownership over what I was involved with at the time that I worked there. So you just want to be able to own what your position is and be the boss of that position. Don't be afraid to take that, because people will pay attention when you do. So you've got to take the ownership. You've got to know that if you don't do this, if you don't take ownership, who is going to? And how good is it going to feel when you finish something, or you deliver a project, or you launch a program, or whatever the case is, that it's because you stood up and you took on a little bit more than maybe you were asked to. The next quality that you really need to be on the lookout for, because if you find that it's the opposite, it's scary to me. So responsibility, self-responsibility. This one I have a really hard time with, because I don't know how you can teach this, because I think it's human nature to deflect and to tell people that it's not my fault, I didn't do that. Oh, I think this is what happened. To immediately push it off. But the problem with that kind of attitude and that problem with that kind of approach is that it halts work. And if your job is to take ownership on your team or whatever, or if you want your people to take ownership and always be kind of solution thinking, then they can't, you've got to train them, or they have to be already in that mode where they don't necessarily take full responsibility, but they're like, okay, let's talk about what happened after, but right now, here's what we need to do. Like, make sure that they are not in the, well, I'd like to know who did something. I'd like to know who made this mistake. I made tons of mistakes before, and you know what? This is a good one. It's interesting with mistakes. So when people make mistakes, they already feel bad. You don't usually need to, you want to hire people that already feel bad when they make a mistake, so you don't have to make them feel worse. Okay? So when I make mistakes, oh my God, it crushes me. It literally crushes me. It breaks me in two, because I'm trying to like manage so many pieces. But what happens actually, and this is definitely something that I'm trying to curb, is that those types of mistakes only happen when someone is doing too many things just because they can. So be really clear about what your position is. And so we've got the ownership, the responsibility, and solution thinking. So if you can be of that mind too, as the business owner, that it doesn't, so if you, the business owner, are not solution thinking, and instead you like to stop things and be like, let's get to the bottom of this, then you're making a big mistake too. Because that's why people don't launch. Because they sit around talking about, well, so-and-so messed with this, and I don't know what happened. It broke down, instead of actually figuring out, okay, who do we need to fix this? Let's get somebody on it now. And then that's what postmortems are for, people. Okay, so try to find people who are kind of responsible, who take responsibility, but then also look for people who are solution oriented. And then the final thing that I think is really important is looking for people who have a core knowledge of how to execute. So for me, when I started working in online businesses, I didn't have online business experience. I had never run an online business before, but I understood how to take things from idea to finished product. I knew how to work with people to get their feedback, to then move things along, to then assign things to other people. I knew how to manage that process. So you need to have people who, regardless of where they're at, know how to execute and move whatever they've done to the next point. So another example of that, so as the project manager or the producer, your job is to kind of look for those areas where it's stuck and move it forward. But let's say if you're just a graphic designer, or you're the web developer, how can you really move the project forward? If you do your work, you set your deadline, you hit your deadline, how do you really move forward? How do you become one of those people who can execute and move things forward? Well, it's simple. Follow up. Don't wait until someone asks you to do something. Be proactive and finding out, if you're a web developer and you've been asked to create a landing page, but nothing else. How about this? How about you finish your landing page and say, hey, what kind of thank you page do you need? Do you need a thank you page? Do we need to integrate this with your Google Analytics? Instead of waiting to be asked to do it. So I think that proactive is probably the best way to move things forward. But unless you ask questions about other ways you can help someone, you're not moving anything forward. You're just showing up and going, here. So I think those are the best types of people to work with. So people who take ownership, and anyways, someone who takes ownership really does all these things I just shared. But someone who can clearly be like, yeah, I'm the boss. Okay. Like, I'm okay being the boss. I realize that it really stresses me out, though, to constantly be the only one managing. I do like, switching back to kind of visionary mode and thinking about the bigger kind of where things are headed, as opposed to, okay, did this so-and-so deliver the code for this and blah, 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 blah. Like all those little nitty-gritty details. Like that stuff stresses me out. But still, I can do it. I can be a boss, no problem. So make sure they can be your boss. They can be, I keep moving the camera. I'm getting so over, okay, I'm going to stop. Okay, so ownership. Make sure that they are solution oriented, meaning they take responsibility quickly and move on. And then they kind of make note of that. So you can make note of that stuff. But you've got to emulate these things too. So don't think you're getting away from it. Even if you're the business owner and you want to work with these types of people, you've also got to be solution oriented. So stop the blame game. Okay, number 3, the third and final thing that I think is really key when you're working with people, and you can get this clue really quickly, no matter what position it is. If someone's waiting for you to give them tasks, they're not proactive. Sorry, they're not. And granted, some relationships are like that. And if you're okay knowing that, let's say someone who edits your podcasts, perhaps they do, maybe they even need to send an email saying, hey, do you have any more podcasts you need to do? Because as an entrepreneur and, you might be doing a bunch of different things, maybe you need that. But you need to set that up with those various services if possible. So make sure that they can help you move forward, take responsibility, and take ownership. If you can get those types of people on your team, dude, that's the dream. That's the dream for me. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've got that type of team. Have you worked with those types of people? And do you think there's another, like a fourth quality that I'm missing here? Anyways, I'd love to know. And then also, what are your biggest questions about teams? Because I'm kind of obsessed right now. I'm obsessed because I'm going through the whole restructuring myself and kind of figuring out what is the ultimate goal for the Fearless Launching fantasy or whatever I'm going to call it. What type of team and what kind of organization can I see for this business? So let me know in the comments below. If you like this topic about teams, you have other questions, let me know too. So leave a comment below, like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.